Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Real Collective Podcast, Episode 2. I am Brendan McKeegan.
And I'm Sean Tassay. Welcome to the Deuce.
That's right, everybody. Sean, what do we have in store this week that is definitely a different week and not 2 days after we recorded the last one?
Yeah, of course. I mean, next week of the podcast, we've got some interesting things for you. If you are a new home buyer, you want to stick around to hear the top 5 new home buyer tips. And then after a short commercial break provided to you by our sponsors, we're going to talk about some weird Ottawa laws and how they might apply to both Brendan and I. We've got a piece in the middle to talk a little bit about what we've got, what we do for some of our sellers. We've been known for our funny videos, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well.
Going to be a good time. We are going to get into it soon. We got the 5 home buyer tips. We've got weird Ottawa laws. Some of them are going to be, you're going to be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's Ottawa for you. So we'll get into that. We're going to show you guys a video that we did that seemed to be pretty well received. I'm looking forward to that. If you are enjoying it so far, hit the like, subscribe, and share buttons. That would be wonderful. We'd really appreciate that. And then we'll get into it. Sean, how's the week been for you otherwise?
So far, so good. It's been a busy week. This is October. If you're listening at a different time, it seems to be, we're getting close to Halloween. All of the kids are sick. So all of the parents are sick. It seems like, every 1 out of every 5 people I talk to is, oh, I'm just toast. So I think everybody's just not necessarily mailing it in, but people are suffering through what they're suffering through this time of year, right?
Yeah. But on the plus side, our Real Collective swag is in, everybody. That's right. We got new sweaters. We got new hats. Not hats yet, but we've got shirts. And none of this pertains to you now, but maybe if you come and see us in person, we can see what we can do for you.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see over my shoulder, there's a water bottle, a hat with a pom-pom, and a tumbler that keeps water cold for 9 hours and hot for 3. Not to mention jackets and t-shirts and hoodies. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming, and might be doing some giveaways if you're following us on social. So keep your eyes peeled. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. All of the places.
Yeah, so if you want to earn one of those hoodies, all you have to do is get your real estate license and join us on the Real Collective. It'll be fine. Our goal here at the Real Collective Podcast is to help you guys through your real estate journey. And we're starting from the very beginning today. We are going to go through the top 5 home buyer tips, top 5 new home buyer tips. I have worked with a lot of first-time home buyers this year, quite a bit. And a lot of times there's questions that you should be asking that you don't even know to ask. You don't even know that you should be asking them. You're just like, oh, I didn't even think to ask that. As Sean will tell you. So we've got a list for you. It's going to help you out. And then we're going to take it away from there. So Sean, why don't you start us off with the first one there?
Brendan, you took the words right out of my mouth. So one thing that we can often be heard saying to new clients is, you know what, you probably have a million questions. You probably even have some questions that you don't know that you need to be asking. And that's absolutely the case. Whether you're a brand new home buyer or whether you've bought multiple homes, there's oftentimes some things that, hey, that's a good question. That's something I didn't think that I should have asked. And I you got blind spots because you're used to doing what you're used to doing. And as agents, it's our job to help you fill in some of those blind spots. So the first tip that we have, if you're a new home buyer or not a new home buyer, if you're just buying a house, is to ask a lot of questions to a lot of people, whether it's your uncle or your parents or your kids, or your mortgage broker or a lawyer, or your friends who just bought a house. The more you can educate and inform yourself, the better off you're going to be while you go through the process of buying a house. So don't hesitate to ask questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. There's just a problem if you don't ask it. If you've got something that you're thinking of, chances are somebody else has thought of that same thing too, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And I mean, a lot of times when I've got my first time home buyer clients and they're going through a house, it might be a simple question like, how do we hook up the hot water tank? And it's already hooked up. It's just a matter of calling the company and putting it in your name. And it's not a foolish question. If you've never done it, you're never going to know. So you're not expected to know all that before you buy a house. So don't be afraid to ask that. Number.
Wait, before you get to number two, when I
Yeah.
moved to my house for the first time, I had no idea how to turn on my furnace.
Yeah.
Right. So like before that, we were always running with electric baseboard heaters. And the first house I moved into, it was provided to us by the builder, and I didn't know what to do. How do you turn it on? How do you do that? So it's, there's, like I said, there's no such thing as a silly question. So
I came up with a fun little rhyme this year when I was at a showing.
Can I drop it for you?
You don't need to. It's only 2 lines, but I appreciate that. It would be very short. It was just most of the time we have a switch for a fireplace or you have a switch for a furnace. They're generally higher up than the other ones. So than the other switches that are in your house. So we were walking through, and then I got to a point where they kept asking, "Oh, is this for the furnace? Oh, is this for the furnace?" I'm like, "Listen, if the switch is higher, it's for fire." And that's a good way to remember it. If the switch is higher, it's for fire. And that usually is the case. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Number 2 is to do your budget, because there is a big difference between what you can afford and what a bank will give you. Sean, elaborate.
Absolutely. Of course, again, taking the words right out of my mouth, Brendan. Yeah. So what you can afford and what you're comfortable spending are often 2 different numbers, because a lot of the time the bank will say, "Oh yeah, here you go. Here's $1 million." And if you work the math back on that, it might give you a budget that you're not really comfortable with. Knowing what you spend on a monthly basis is going to put you in a really good spot to be able to jump on the right house for you. And really, I've seen some people go through the process of either not getting pre-approved, which obviously it's a huge one, right? But before you even get pre-approved, you want to know, like, how much do I spend on, my more, like right now, if you're buying your first house, what do I spend on my rent, my utilities, my car, my phone, yada yada yada, eating, going out, all that sort of thing. You hear so many people who are going through the process of buying a house or in their first house, and like, "Oh my gosh, I'm house poor." That is a real legit thing, and it's because a lot of people don't go into it understanding what their budget is. And sometimes, even if you do understand what your budget is, you get into your house and what you just, it's no longer Timmy's every morning for breakfast. It's making your own coffee, and you realize it's 50 cents a cup as opposed to $2 a cup if you go to the drive-through, right?
Yeah, and according to everyone I know that is 60 and over, that's the difference maker. That is what allows you to afford a home.
Well, no, it's that and avocado toast, right?
Right, that's right. Which I refuse to give up, by the way.
You shouldn't. Never give up what you love, Brennan.
No. But that is the case. You do need to budget carefully. You want to make sure, and like, especially if you have car payments, don't just factor in like, "Hey, I have a house now," because you might end up shooting yourself in the foot. Number 3 in the list is to choose your agent carefully. Don't be afraid to interview more than one person. Don't be afraid to talk to a few other realtors. Find somebody that you connect with on a human level. What? Humans in real estate? Go figure. That's what we're trying to do. Like our whole team, we have a whole group of very different realtors that all have a collective mindset, and it's wonderful. Real collective, I get it. But it's nice because there's going to be somebody that I would hope meshes with any client that comes forward. So if you are looking for a new home, make sure you start interviewing realtors. Don't be afraid. They don't have to do a full buyer presentation for you or anything like that, but just have like a 5-10 minute phone call of what you expect from them and what they expect from you, and see if those 2 things collide. And if they do, then you are good to go on from there.
There was a study done recently, and I don't remember the exact numbers were, but when I saw it, I realized, oh wow, most people, like more than 70% of people, when they're buying their first house, they just use the agent that they sort of happen into, or the first agent that they meet is the agent that they use to buy a house. And not all agents are created equally. There are some agents who are good, and there are some agents who are not so good. And there are some agents, probably 5 to 10% of agents who should not have their license. And if you get stuck with one of those people, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble, and that agent might wind up putting you in a lot of trouble. And so, choosing your agent carefully, like Brendan said, most buyers don't realize, a lot of sellers do, right? Sellers will interview 3 agents, and that's sort of the thing that you do. It's the same as when you're going to hire a contractor, you want to get 3 different quotes, right? As a buyer for a house, feel free to research Google, try and find some realtors and interview the one that seems to, like Brendan said, matches with you the best, and you get the right vibe with. And even if they don't match with you perfectly, if you get a better sense from them than one of the other people, then, I mean, right? If
Yeah.
you can sniff out like those 10%. Just don't get stuck with those 10% of realtors who don't know what they're doing and don't have any abilities to help you as you go through the process. That's the thing that worries me the most about people who are buying. So that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 4, and this goal ties in a little bit to number 2, is to expect to have more expenses than what you've budgeted for. There are a lot of other things to consider, things like lawyer fees, things like closing costs, a land transfer tax, anything like that. There is a slew of others that are in there. Don't forget about those. Just moving in general, like if you're paying for movers, factor all of that in, and then add probably 10 to 15% as a buffer, because you're probably going to need it.
It's all those little things. I remember, again, when I bought my first house, it's like, oh yeah, I also need to get a toilet roll holder and a garbage can and a shower curtain and you know what I mean? And it's all of these tiny and furniture, right? Because we were here before and now our place is bigger. So it just keeps adding, and adding and adding. Oh, well, our eaves troughs weren't done. So I'll end the eaves troughs. Oh, you want a deck? Okay. And a deck. And, it's just, there's always going to be more and more things that just keep coming. Home ownership is not inexpensive. If you're buying a new house, of course, you don't have to worry about things like the furnace or the roof deteriorating over time, but you're also going to want to add things into your budget that are going to be long-term. Hey, wait a sec, I do need to save for my roof or my furnace or whatever. If you're buying a house that's maybe 10 or 15 years old, it might need the roof or the furnace a little bit sooner. So these are all things that you can factor in. One thing that we can talk about in a later podcast moving forward, maybe when we have one of the mortgage brokers on, is talking about a purchase plus improvements mortgage, which can offset some of those major costs moving in. But yeah, that's one thing that's really stood out to me about home ownership, is that whatever I thought it was going to cost, it was more.
Yeah. And what you said too about a purchase plus improvements, if those improvements are still maybe just out of reach for you, or it's like 5 years away, but they're coming, when you move in, maybe set yourself up a savings account and start it off with maybe $3,000 in there, and then add in whatever you can a month. If it's $50, it's $50, but anything in there to help chip away at the fact that if your furnace conks out in the middle of February, that you can get somebody in there, and then all of a sudden, oh, good, in our savings account, we have enough to cover the furnace. And then you're not just out of that. So if you have that kind of mindset of like, okay, it's almost like your own little private insurance company for your house. Obviously, you're going to have home insurance, but when that sort of stuff does happen, or you want to get like a new kitchen or a new appliances, you've got that fund going. So don't be afraid to start one of those. Talk to your bank, whoever is working for you. They should be able to help you out and get something there. Lastly on the list is number 5, don't skip the inspection.
Please don't skip the inspection. Earlier this year, we were having tons of houses which were selling instantly and for hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what they were listed for. And people would buy these houses unconditional, without a financing condition, without a home inspection condition, without a condo condition. And you're just so unprotected if you skip that inspection. Set yourself up. If you think you're going to have to be bidding on a house, go and do your inspection in advance. It's so important. We as realtors, of course, we've got good eyes. We've seen enough houses. We can sort of point to some stuff, but we are not licensed inspectors, right? If you're buying your first home, please don't skip the inspection. If you're buying your 70th home and you're a real estate investor and you don't care because you're ripping the whole thing out, and whether the electrical is knob and tube and the plumbing is lead pipes, it doesn't matter to you because you're tearing all that out and putting all new stuff in. Sure, whatever, do your thing, take your own risk. But if you're a first-time home buyer, you can't skip that inspection. And don't get your dad to come and do the inspection, or your uncle. Like, get a home inspector who knows how to inspect houses, who's licensed and insured and bonded to come and inspect the house for you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just so everyone knows as well, your dad is not a licensed home inspector. He is not. And the amount of times you see a dad, or any family member for that matter, I've seen it with, doesn't matter. I've seen the moms come over too, and they just kind of look at something and say, oh, that's not right. And then I have to correct them and say that it is right and why. So trust the professionals on it, guys. Don't skip out on that home inspection if you can't. There's always a way. Especially, like you said, if it is multiple offers, that's something that you got to look into. If it's the home that you're going to go all in on, you get that done before the offer day. And tying that into when you're budgeting for a home, factor into the fact that maybe you do 2 or 3 home inspections on different places, and maybe you don't get one. But hopefully a realtor will guide you in the right direction of what they think the home will sell for and what you should be prepared to offer. And if you are, and you get that home inspection, then you will be set up for success. Yes, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Do we have a caller? You raised your hand like you had a question.
No, I think I'm
okay. You're just like bam, nailed it.
No, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, right on. Perfect. All right, we're going to take a quick break, talking a little bit about what we've done for our clients. This is a video that we did, Sean and I, for 2411 Nut Grove. This is called, it's like a CSI parody. So have a look at that. This was a home in Half Moon Bay during a little bit of a slow season, and there was a little bit of a slowdown. And my clients were kind of worried that they weren't going to get the price they had in their head. But with our strategies, with our marketing, with our fun video that had tons of views, I don't know the exact number, across different groups and platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, it sold well over asking price in multiple offers in a slow season from just over what they were hoping to get as their bottom line figure. So here's the video. Take a look. 2411 Nut Grove.
Don't be afraid, of course, to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share the video, and of course the podcast if you like what you're seeing.
Well. 2411 Nut Grove Avenue in Half Moon Bay. What do we got?
Witnesses say we've got a Mattamy mulberry end unit with 3 bedrooms upstairs and 2 bathrooms.
And is that a second parking spot? Something rarely found in a home like this?
Yes, Brendan. Yes, it is.
My God. This looks like a case of grand larceny.
Why, Brendan? Why do you say that?
Because this place is a steal.
You might want to leave those on. The natural light in here is through the windows.
I'll take my chances. This place is immaculate. In fact, there's not a shred of evidence to suggest that this place has not been meticulously maintained.
Well, there's also this.
Is that laundry by the front door and the garage entrance? Who knows what they were laundering in here?
Yeah, clothes. They were laundering clothes, Brendan. The flow here is great. This kitchen is perfect. This whole space is great for entertaining.
Looks like an open and concept case. What's through there?
That is the unbelievable private balcony. You know, it's bright. I can almost see Dowager Park from here.
This balcony reminds me of that homicidal beauty queen I took down.
Why, Brendan? Why is that?
Because it's pretty killer.
Yeah!
We got 3 generous bedrooms. 2 of them are set up as offices, but they can easily be a bedroom as soon as you put a bed inside it.
Makes sense. And this bathroom's a great size. And there's another half bath downstairs?
Yeah, Brendan. Yeah, there is.
Wow. And laundry that we saw when we first walked in.
You're right. The only thing this house won't drain is your bank account.
Looks like 2411 Grove's the perfect home for first-time home buyers, investors, anybody really.
Yeah, thanks. We better get started on the paperwork or Sarge will be right up our asses.
All right, well then I'll go get the hose.
The hose? Why the hose?
Because I gotta put this sty fire out. Case closed.
You know we're in Barhaven now. You into swinging?
You know that I am. We mother.
That was 2411 Nut Grove. If you like what you're seeing so far, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share on the Real Collective podcast. Available everywhere. You can find them. Spotify, iTunes. Check us out on there. We're going to get into a little bit of what we are aiming to do with this podcast and also just be a little bit entertaining. So today we're going to talk about some weird Ottawa laws that don't make sense, but you live here and then you're like, that kind of makes sense. I can see that. Ottawa's got that reputation, especially some areas of Ottawa, like, no, you can't have fun here, even though we live next to a stadium. So there's a bit of that. There's a bit.
To be fair, the stadium is painted brown and pink. It's the ugliest painting on a stadium that I could think of.
I was talking about Lansdowne.
Oh, I'm talking about the Corral Center.
Yeah, Canadian Tire Center, Corral Center. Was this year 1? Yeah, 96. Go Sens. So some of these we're going to get into it. Some of these are a little bit weird. The first one, I just want to get it out of the way because I think it's an urban legend, but apparently it is illegal to eat ice cream on Bank Street in Ottawa on a Sunday. Any other day is good. Just keep it indoors on a Sunday. Like somebody in the glebe got mad that somebody was walking down Bank Street all willy-nilly with their ice cream and it fell off. Do you think it's real, Sean?
Is it a religious thing? Like why only Sunday? Why not Saturday and Sunday? What's about
I don't know. I feel like I've heard like insert your town here on blank street in blank. You know, I think this is one of those urban legends, like those bad T-shirts that have the fill in the blank spot. Like nobody messes with a insert job title, especially if you're an insert zodiac sign.
those are the ads I get on Facebook all the time.
Yeah, right. Those are the worst.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I don't think this one's real. I think it's. There's no way. Who's going to enforce that?
Nobody. Here's a question: does it also because there's a really good vegan ice cream spot on Bank Street called Mushu? Does it count if it's non-dairy? That's a question I'd like to know.
But that's the other thing too. There's like 3 or 4 different gourmet ice cream shops on Bank Street. You expect them to close on a Sunday?
No, just close the doors. You do not leave with ice cream.
Yeah, maybe Sundays were warmer, and they're like, "Don't! It's just gonna melt." Maybe they were trying to protect people.
then you got to get the Willy Wonka never melting ice cream.
Yeah, I don't trust the science behind that. Not one bit.
I don't trust any of the science of Willy Wonka's candies in the movies.
Sean, what's the second one? This doesn't seem real.
I grew up in Canada, so I can tell you that it is real. In Canada, the colors of your houses and of your garage doors are regulated by the bylaws. So when they first built Canada, they wanted it to feel like you're living in the woods, right? It was originally built as Beaverbrook. So if you paint your exterior doors purple, you'll get fined. There's a garage door I think it's in Barhaven that's painted with the Batman logo on it. And that's really cool. You could not do that in Canada. You also cannot hang your clothes up on a what do you call it when you hang your clothes up?
Clothesline.
Clothesline. Yeah. In Canada, you can't do that. So they're very, very particular in Canada. And this one for sure, Brendan, is true. I know because I grew up there and everything is like green and brown and like earth tone colors.
Huh. I see for the clothesline thing, I understand that a while ago, but we're in a point now where people are thinking more about the environment and how it's much better for the environment just to put your clothes on a line. I know it did in Toronto, they reversed that because it was such an uproar. But not being able to paint your garage door purple is hilarious to me. First, why you would want to is beyond me. And like specifically, you cannot paint your exterior door purple. Why? Why is that the one that stands out? Like somebody just hates purple.
Listen, I'm sure somebody went with an off color like mauve, like, oh, this is really nice. It looks like lilacs. And the city probably bylaw just came across like, no, sir.
No.
Beige only.
Beige or off-white. Those are your options.
Beige or bust.
Beige, off-white, or white smoke. What would you like to have?
Eggshell.
Those are your options. Just so like if you painted it yellow, would somebody come by?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more than just purple. It's if you paint it more than like one of like 4 colors.
Yeah, I feel like you can't go like red, right? You can't orange. Orange is not going to fly. Putting the Batman symbol on your garage door. That's what we need to find for another podcast is find the person who lives at the house with the Batman logo and get him for an interview.
Okay. It'll be fun is to paint a tunnel on your garage door like Wile E. Coyote and see if people drive their car into your garage.
Paint the inside of your garage on your door. So it looks like there's like a beer fridge and you can see the tools are hanging. No,
like there's a giant party inside.
Yeah.
Or depending on where you live, paint your garage door to look like your garage door is half open.
Right. Yeah.
That's another urban legend. Look it up, folks. We're not covering that one here.
Not today.
The next one is apparently removing your feet from the pedals while biking is illegal. And it's also illegal to bike one-handed, particularly if you have an item in your other hand. So if you're riding down the street, like this is distracted driving on a bike. You get fined for that now. But also, if someone said, "Hey, Brendan," and I went, "Hi," that's a fine right there because I waved from a bicycle.
So I've actually been pulled over riding my bike in Ottawa. But the reason I was pulled over is because I was biking the wrong way on a one-way street. That's the only time I've been pulled over on my bike. Now, look, you can bike on the sidewalks. You can, you probably shouldn't bike the wrong way on a one-way street. Thankfully I got off with like a warning and like, dude, don't bike here. But I used to bike around downtown a lot, like before I had a car and when I was like in university, and that was my only mode of transportation.
With the knives?
What's that?
With a backpack of knives?
This was before I was selling knives. This was like pre knife selling. Like this, and I used to smoke cigarettes. So the first thing that came to mind when I thought this is I would be riding my bike and smoking a cigarette. Yeah, because it was efficient, right? Like some people like drive their car and smoke. I feel like nobody smokes anymore.
Yeah, you're really canceling out all the work you're doing for your lungs right there.
Yeah. I wasn't using the bike to get healthy. I was just using it as a mode of transportation. A lot cheaper to ride a bike than it is to get a car, right? Like I was in like my late teens or early 20s at the time. So yeah, technically I think I was probably breaking the law while smoking and biking.
Just removing your feet from the pedals seems hilarious to me. Like if you just kick your feet out and go, wee, they're like, no, sir, pull over. We cannot have that.
Yeah, that seems like a weird thing for me. I saw a video of a guy who took his feet off the pedals and stuck them out behind him, put his stomach on the bike, and he used that to make himself more aerodynamic while going downhill. And he started passing all these other guys. This was like in a bike race, but I think like Superman style on your.
Oh
bike.
yeah. Where he planked over his seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like a lot of core strength, but I feel like that's definitely what this is leaning towards. They don't want you doing.
I think that was in the Cour de France.
The Tour de France?
Nope, the Cour de France.
Okay. Core strength.
There it is. Yep, too late. Moving on. Number 4. Number 4 on the list.
No, you're going. Okay, go.
Oh yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know. This one just seems weird to me. If you let the grass grow long in your front and backyard, you can be fined. An older woman got fined a few years ago and got a $500 fine for letting the grass grow in her backyard. And apparently, by law, sent someone to cut her grass and still made her pay, as they should. Because if I hire somebody to cut my grass, I have to pay them. So, but it's got to be like out of control height.
Well, yeah. So I grew up the street that I grew up on in Orleans. We actually had our neighbor let their grass grow super long, and I remember that my parents. I was like a child. I remember my parents were reporting her, I guess, to the city.
Yeah.
Maybe she was the older woman who got charged. I don't know. This was on St. George Street in Orleans, so look it up. But I will also tell you this. I was watching a YouTube video about a guy who goes and like does lawn rehabs, and it's super relaxing to watch somebody else cut lawns on YouTube. Weird thing, I know. But this guy goes in and rehabs lawns, and I don't know, it's probably like a 10-minute YouTube video. And sometimes he'll just go and do it, like because out of the goodness of his heart. But man, they look really good when they're transformed well. So those are my 2 points.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few out of control lawns though, like just doing showings and stuff like that, where like the neighbors just aren't taking care of it, and it does look bad. So I kind of get it. So just take care of your lawn. But why wouldn't you want to have that pride of ownership? Anyway,
you know what? Like sometimes there's mental health stuff that goes along with it. Who knows, right? Sometimes like you see some of these people, the house they live in, they're hoarder houses, and you know that the exterior is just sort of an extension of that. So who knows what's going on with people and whether they have the ability to do it. I mean, everybody's got their thing that they've got going on, but for sure it's unsightly, and it attracts wildlife to the neighborhood, which isn't good for anybody, especially the neighbors, right? So
yeah. All right, Sean, why don't you bring us into the last one here?
Number 5, wrapping us up in Ottawa and only in Ottawa. Children under the age of 5 must not be locked in any type of refrigerator. In Ottawa, our nation's capital, the home of our House of Commons, and where our Prime Minister resides, any children that are 5 years old or older, so that's, you know, if you're 4.5, you're good, are allowed to roam and play inside any fridge just as long as they can fit into it comfortably.
What fridge can you roam in?
What the fridge does it mean?
This is the dumbest thing ever. Like, you absolutely must not lock a child under the age of 5 in a fridge. But if you're 6, screw you, Timmy. You are getting locked in that fridge.
Provided you can move comfortably or roam.
Yes, go roam in the fridge.
Yeah. Freezer's good. What about like you ever work at a bar and they've got like the big walk-in fridge?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe that's what it's in reference to. I hate it.
Did you know that 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds shouldn't be in a bar? Did you know that? So they shouldn't even be near those to have the opportunity to get locked in.
Yeah, let alone back of house.
Yeah. Like, what happened at and why did they cut this at 5? Why not just anyone? You shouldn't lock anyone in a fridge.
Here's these laws all exist because someone was stupid enough to do something that they had to actually write a law. So what I really want to know is the story behind this. Right?
You shouldn't lock anybody in a fridge. Have you not seen Short Circuit 2? They had to rip off the security system and play the song Downtown to give clues so that Johnny Five could free them from this thing because they were locked in. So just don't lock anybody in and avoid the problems.
Johnny Five, you got to watch out for Los Locos.
I know. They kick you right in the outer space.
In outer space, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, those are the weird Ottawa laws. Learn something new every day, guys. We are going to move over to the collective corner and wrap up today's show. If you had a good time, everybody, you can like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Tell us what you liked and what you didn't like. You know what? No, don't keep the negativity to yourself. Tell us what you liked. Maybe you have recommended topics that you want to see. Put them in the comments down below. Check them out here. You can probably post this YouTube video on your Facebook. Just play it in the background. It'll be a good time. Sean, what else do we have coming up?
Well, I want to know from you guys who are listening or watching, what other tips that you might give to people who are buying houses. So if you've bought a home and you've gone through the process and you're like, hey, I really wish I would have known this before I did it, post it up in the comments. We can bring it up when we follow up next time. I also want to know any other weird Ottawa laws that you guys have come across or that you've seen or you've heard of, or you're like, is this a legit thing, like that illegal to eat ice cream on Bank Street? If there's anything else, post it down in the comments, and Brendan and I will go in, we'll comment, we'll bring it up next time. And if there's some things that we get wrong, we're okay to come in and cover that in the next one in the intro. So yeah, of course, like Brendan said, you can download on iTunes, not iTunes, podcast app on Apple, I think is what it is, and as well as on Spotify. And of course, you can watch us here on YouTube. Yeah, it's been a slice.
Wonderful. I am Brendan McKeegan. This is Sean Tassay. We are the Real Collective Podcast. We will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Peace.